So since we have such wonderful opportunities available, it is always an occasion to rejoice. One could say to pat ourselves on the back that we have such wonderful conditions, that we do not have to think only about survival. Of course, the human condition, just like any other condition, an animal condition, of course, if I dare say, the lower realms and even the higher realms, the celestial realms, even they don't have the conditions that we have. Their states are either complete enjoyment or complete pleasure, or the opposite, pain. And so therefore, either way, they are not really able to focus on cultivating compassion and wisdom. The gods are too busy enjoying themselves, and so therefore the entertainments are too many that they have simply no room to think of cultivating compassion and wisdom. The lower realms are too busy surviving, and so therefore they have no room to cultivate compassion and wisdom. By saying that, we are not demeaning them in any way, we are just reflecting on their reality, on their exact state, and that is all. And so therefore, the human condition, the condition that is right in the middle, is always the most favorable condition, and so therefore it's a great waste if we are not able to utilize them for cultivating compassion and wisdom. Now, in order to carry on this, in order to move forward in our cultivation or in our practice, or for example, this very practice, which we are doing it, of course, in stretch 7 days a year and a few hours per day during that 1 week. And this should explain to us how we are supposed to practice. On another plane or on in another existence, maybe it's different. But once we have this human existence, of course, the other side or another perspective on this human condition, that no matter how precious it is, no matter how wonderful it is, at the end of the day, it is subjected to change, or in other words, impermanent. And so therefore, impermanent or change, not in a negative way, it's just factual. And so therefore, this condition changes or lives or thrives bit by bit, in very simple terms. And so therefore, if you just look at the physical state, then it needs to survive on nourishment of all kinds, bit by bit. Whatever we have nourished ourselves with yesterday, it's not here anymore today. And what we are going to nourish ourselves with today will not be there for tomorrow, or we cannot eat it also for tomorrow, or nourish it ourselves for tomorrow. We have to nourish it on a day-to-day basis, on an hourly basis, and so on. And so therefore, that is one of the structures of this human condition. And so therefore, the one could say the mind or the consciousness of ours, for the present time being, is very much in accordance with this human condition, and so therefore our mind, although it may be intrinsically free and free of any kind of limitations, but for the time being, since it's dwelling with this physical body in a harmonious way, then we have to nourish the mind in the same manner. And so that's why this Mellam is like the annual nourishment for the mind. And in the same way, we have to nourish ourselves on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, and on an hourly basis if possible. And so what I'm saying is that, in short, we have to practice continuously. We cannot just practice just once or twice, have one great show in a year, and then be done with it. We have to do it gradually and regularly, just as we are having breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So according to your schedule and time frame, then on a daily basis, to make some time for practice, for meditation is very important. Of course, to some of you, you may have opportunities to stretch that time frame a little bit more, so that you can include practices like this, the king of aspirations. To some of you, maybe you may not have enough time frame to do or to add anything further, and so therefore you might just continue with what you have already started with, and so therefore that's also fine. But your time frame will also not stay exactly like a schedule throughout the year or throughout your life. It will always keep on changing. Sometimes you will find less time, sometimes you will find more time. And so therefore, you have to keep that in mind, according to your day-to-day changing of your mindset and perspectives. You will want to somehow increase on the nourishment, one could say, or to go to the next level of nourishing yourselves. For example, from something like moving from just vegetables to organic vegetables and so on. And so in the same way, these are things, of course, you have to think individually. But one thing is for certain, that we have to do it regularly, and we have to make sessions. That's very important, because otherwise, if you do it in one go, maybe mentally we can cope with that. Maybe we feel comfortable with that. But physically, if you say, today I'll have the biggest meal, or on the new year I'll have the biggest meal, but for the next 11 or 12 months or so, I will not eat. Of course, this just doesn't work, does it? So in the same way, we have to somehow find a rhythm. That's very important. So it could be half an hour or 1 hour in a day, and that we have to dedicate it to formal practices. And by doing so, then the informal practice, meaning if we practice for within 24 hours, if you practice for 1 hour formally, then for the next 23 hours, then we would have the energy that we got from the formal practice to be able to practice informally as well, in terms of how you engage with people, how you engage with the nature, how you engage with your responsibilities and so on. And so therefore it's actually very essential. So these are some of the things that I thought is important to keep in mind. But if I try to convey everything what I said in Tibetan, I think it will take too long. It's already 46 minutes already and counting. But whatever I think it's important, of course I will try to share as much as possible. And so one of the things that I wanted to share was basically one could say dedication.